This is the number non-calculator set B. So you should have attempted set A already and are now on your way to doing set B. So let's have a look at this. This is what you should be looking at, and let's go through the questions. So question 1, we should know from before, that symbol there means the cube root of 125. What's 3 same numbers times together to give you 125? And that's going to be 5. Because 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times another 5 is 125. If you look at this fraction here, the two numbers at the bottom, right, they're different. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to make them the same. We're going to times the first fraction by 9, and we're going to times the second fraction, top and bottom, by 5. So 3 times 9 is 27, 5 times 9 is 45. 2 times 5 is 10, and 9 times 5 is 45. So that's what it's going to look like. Now that the bottom numbers are the same, I can add them easily. 27 plus 10 is 37 over 45, and there's my result. Okay, question 3. 4 times 5 is 40. Sorry, 4 times 5 is 20 even, and 7 times 8 is 56. So that's 20 over 56. If the question doesn't say simplify, don't bother doing it. Question 4. This is a division, so I need to change it to a times. And remember what I said before? That's going to change to a times, and the second fraction is going to be flipped over. So I'm going to get 2/3 times 4 over 3. So 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 3 is 9, and that's my final answer. Make sure you look at it and you're happy with that. As we said before as well, anything to the power of 0 is 1. So 258 to the power of 0, that's definitely 1. Question 6. Keyword in this question is estimate, so we need to round all the numbers to one significant figure. 41.3 is going to become 40. 1.72, think about it carefully. Don't write down the first thing that comes to your mind. That's going to become 2. And 0.463, again, be careful with that. If I round it to one significant figure, the next number along is a 6, so that 4 is going to turn into a 5. So this is what it's going to become. 40 times 2 over 0.5. 40 times 2 is 80. 80 over 0.5. Dividing by 0.5 is the same as timesing by 2. And 80 times 2 is 160. Okay, take your time with this. Show all your workings as you go through. Question 7. Anything to the power of a half means to square root it. So square root of 121. Square root of 121 means what two same numbers times together to give you 121. And in this case, 11 times 11 is 121. Okay. Question 8. Anything to the power of a negative number, you either flip it or you put it over 1. So 1 over 5 squared. I need to square 5, which is 25, so that's going to become 1 over 25. Make sure you're comfortable with that, and you can do it. Okay, question 9. Work out 32.5% of 280. I need to first of all find 10%, which is 28. I'm then going to find 5%, which is half of 28, which is 14, and 2.5%, which is 7. I need to get a proper combination of these to get 32.5%. So 3 lots of 10s make 30, and then one lot of 2.5 will help me get the 32.5. So I need 3 lots of 28 and 1 lot of 7. Add these up together, and I'm going to get 91. So that's my 32.5%. You need to be able to do that without a calculator and comfortably add up and get the correct answer. Express 300 as the product of its prime factors. Let's do a factor tree for that. 300, if I split it up into 30 and 10, if I split up the 30 into 5 and 6, now there are loads of ways you can split it up. Otherwise, I'm going to split up the 10 into 2 and 5. Now both of those are prime, so I'm going to stop there. The 5 is prime, so I'm going to stop there, but 6 is not prime. Some people stop at this stage. Make sure you carry on and you check all the numbers. 6 can be split up into 2 and 3. And now I'm going to, all the prime numbers, 5, 2, 5, 2, and 3, I'm going to times them all together. I'm going to put them in numerical order. They don't have to be in numerical order, but it is useful. And that's my answer. 2 times 2 times 5 times 5 times 3. Or 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. So the order is definitely not important, but it would be useful. Question 11. The decimal point is going to go here when I write it in standard form. It's going to go between the 5 and the 4. So I'm going to rewrite this as 5.435 times 10 to, the decimal point is over here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be 10 to the power of 6. Okay, you need to be comfortable with this. Hopefully this is the second time you're seeing this and doing it and you've gotten it right. Question 12. The decimal point in this case is going to be between the 7 and the 1. So that's going to be 7.15. And I'm going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4 along. But because it's a tiny number, that's going to be times 10 to the minus 4. So there's my answer for that. Tim and Sue share some money in the ratio 8 to 5. So really important, I need to write T over here for Tim and S over here for Sue. Okay, that is really important that you write that into the problem and you do that as you're going along. Okay, let's just get this sorted. Okay, so Tim gets £21 more than Sue. I need to look at what difference there is between the parts that they get. Tim is going to get 8 parts, Sue is going to get 5 parts. So 8 take away 5 is 3 parts. That's how many parts more Tim gets than Sue. But he gets £21 more, so that's 3 parts is worth £21. 1 part, therefore, is 21 divided by 3, which is 7. Okay, make sure you're comfortable with that. How much money does Sue get? Well, Sue gets 5 parts, so she gets 5 lots of 7. 5 lots of 7 is 35, and that's your result here. Okay, going on to question 14. All right, let's label this up, and if I go back and do it at the same time, Jim and Tim share some money in the ratio 2 to 7. So that 2 stands for how much Jim gets. The 7 stands for how much Tim gets. It is very important that you always write that down in the questions as you're doing it. So Tim and Jim share some money in the ratio 2 to 7. Tim gets £35. But from looking at this, and because I've written it down, I know that Tim is going to get 7 parts. And if he gets £35, that means 7 parts is worth £35. This is where it's very important to read these questions. Read them very carefully so you understand what they're telling you. If 7 parts is worth £35, then 1 part is 35 divided by 7, which is 5. If I know what 1 part is, now I can work out what Jim gets, because Jim is going to get 2 parts. Jim gets 2 parts, 2 lots of 5, which is 10, and that's the result there. That's how much Jim gets. Okay, question 5. I'm going to times the number parts, 6 times 4. I'm going to times the 10 to the power parts, times 10 to the power of 8, times 10 to the power of 5. 6 times 4 is 24, times 10 to the power of 8 times 10 to the power of 5 is 10 to the power of 13. I'm going to rewrite the 24 in standard form. I'm going to write that as 2.4 times 10 to the 1. It always pretty much becomes 10 to the 1 here, right? So you could actually follow this through and follow a set method as you're going through. Times 10 to the 13. Now, bring the 10s together. I need to add the powers, so it's going to become 2.4 times 10 to the power of 14. 1 plus 13 is 14. As I said before, make sure you really do understand this question. It's a tricky question. It's very important that you do get it. Question 16, again, as I said before, write it as a fraction. 6 times 10 to the 7 all over 4 times 10 to the 3. So we're going to do this division first. 6 over 4. Now you need to know that 6 over 4 is 1.5. You need to really be comfortable with that, be able to understand that without a calculator. 7 to the power of 3 divided by 10 to the power of 3. Remember, we're going to take away the powers. So 7 minus minus 3. 7 minus minus 3 is 7 plus 3, which is 10. Please do think about that. Make sure you understand it. Make sure you think about it clearly. If you want to try this bit, 6 divided by 4 on a calculator, please do as well. But it's a fact that you need to know. Question 17. What is 28 out of 70 as a percentage? So that's 28 over 70. I need to turn the bottom number into 10. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 7. 70 divided by 10 is 7. 70 divided by 7 is 10. 28 divided by 7 is 4. So that's 4 over 10. Times them both by 10 now to turn the bottom number into 100. That times 10 is 100. That times 10 is 40. 40 over 100. And now it should be obvious to you that we're dealing with 40%. Right, you should be pretty comfortable with this. Question 18. Write down the value of 9 to the power of 3 over 2. Now, if you remember what we did on the previous one, the bottom number, so that's half, right, we're going to keep that inside. So it's going to be 9 to the power of a half, all to the power of 3. So remember that top number, I put it outside the bracket. Just remember that. And these questions only have 3 over 2 or 2 over 3 in them, so it's one or the other that you need to remember. Square root of 9, that's what 9 to the power of a half means. The square root of 9 is 3. 3 cubed means 3 times 3 times 3, and we've done that before. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, and that's your answer. Rationalizing this third, times the top and bottom by the square root of 6. The root 6 times root 6 is 6. 24 times root 6 is 24 root 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So here's my answer, 4 root 6. Question 20. Times the numbers together. 3 times 4 is 12. I'm going to times the roots together. Root 5 times root 5 is going to be 5, but one's a plus and one's a minus, so it's minus root 5. Plus root 5 times 4 is plus 4 root 5. 3 times root 5 minus root 5 is minus 3 root 5. Now let's just tidy this up. 12 take away 5 is 7. 4 minus 3 is 1, so that's 1 root 3, and there is my result. Okay, that's my answer, there's my result. Okay, you should go through these, take your time as you go through them, make sure you understand them carefully, rewind this, pause it if you need to, but just don't blindly copy it down, make sure you do understand them fully.